Most people don't break because life is too hard. They break because they spend years building their lives on foundations they never questioned. Daniel used to believe that mental strength meant never crying, never doubting, never feeling afraid. So whenever life hurt him, he pushed everything deeper inside and called it resilience. Then one ordinary afternoon, a single unexpected setback shattered everything he thought he knew about himself. It wasn't the setback that broke him. It was the realization that his confidence had always depended on things outside his control, other people's approval, predictable routines, and the hope that nothing would ever go wrong. That's how most people live. Not weak, simply unprepared. A strong mind isn't born when life is peaceful. It's revealed when life suddenly becomes uncertain. And what determines whether you stand or collapse isn't talent, intelligence, or motivation. It's the invisible architecture inside your mind. Because before you can build a mind that cannot be broken, you first have to discover the hidden cracks that have been there all along. Daniel didn't realize that many of his thoughts weren't actually his own. As a child, he learned that making mistakes meant embarrassment. He learned that staying quiet avoided conflict. He learned that pleasing other people was safer than disappointing them. Years later, those lessons still controlled him, even though the world around him had changed. That's how the brain works. It builds shortcuts from repeated experiences until they become automatic. Over time, those shortcuts feel so familiar that we mistake them for reality itself. The problem is that your mind rarely announces when it's lying to you. It simply whispers, "This is who you are. This is how people see you. This is what always happens." And because the voice sounds familiar, you believe it. An unbreakable mind doesn't begin by learning something new. It begins by questioning what has always felt true. But even after recognizing those hidden patterns, there is one problem that catches almost everyone. They still react before they ever have the chance to think. And that tiny moment changes everything. One morning, Daniel received an email that instantly made his stomach tighten. His first instinct was to defend himself. His fingers were already moving toward the keyboard before he had even finished reading the message. Then something unexpected happened. He stopped. Just one breath. Just a few seconds of silence. Neuroscientists often describe this tiny gap as the moment when your thinking brain has a chance to catch up with your emotional brain. Without it, your reactions are often written by old survival patterns rather than present reality. That pause changed everything. When Daniel read the email again, he noticed something he had completely missed the first time. It wasn't an attack, it was simply a request for clarification. Most regrets are not created by bad intentions. They're created by reactions that happen too quickly. If you've ever realized later that you overreacted, comment pause below. Sometimes a single word is the first step toward changing a lifelong habit. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if you learn to pause, your brain still has another way of keeping you trapped. It convinces you that comfort is the same thing as safety. After that day, Daniel started noticing a pattern he had never questioned before. Every time an opportunity appeared, his mind produced the same quiet warning. Stay where it's familiar. Don't risk looking foolish. Maybe later. For years, he believed that voice was protecting him. But it wasn't protecting him. It was protecting his comfort. Your brain is designed to conserve energy and avoid uncertainty. It doesn't naturally distinguish between something that is dangerous and something that is simply unfamiliar. To your nervous system, giving a presentation, having an honest conversation, or starting a new career can feel surprisingly similar to facing a real threat. That's why growth often feels wrong at first. Not because you're making a mistake, but because you're leaving behind what your brain has learned to recognize as predictable. Daniel eventually realized that every meaningful change in his life had begun with discomfort. Not panic, not danger, just discomfort. And once he understood that difference, he stopped asking, "Why does this feel scary?" Instead, he began asking a far better question. What if my mind isn't describing reality at all? That question would lead him to one of the biggest discoveries about the human brain. A few weeks later, Daniel caught himself thinking, "I'm probably going to fail." For the first time, he didn't immediately believe it. Instead, he asked himself a simple question. Is this a fact or just a thought? The answer surprised him. His brain wasn't predicting the future, it was replaying the past. Neuroscience shows that the brain constantly generates predictions based on previous experiences. The problem is that those predictions often feel so convincing that we mistake them for reality. A single failure becomes, "I always fail." One rejection becomes, "Nobody wants me." The mind quietly fills in the missing pieces until imagination begins to sound like evidence. Daniel realized he had been arguing with life using stories that had never been verified. The voice in his head wasn't an enemy, but it wasn't an objective narrator either. Some thoughts deserved attention. Others deserve to be questioned. Because the moment you stop treating every thought as truth, you create space for something far more powerful. You begin to realize that thoughts can influence your emotions, but they don't have to become your identity. One evening, Daniel sat alone after a difficult conversation. His chest felt heavy. His thoughts became quieter, but the feeling remained. In the past, he would have said, "Something must be wrong with me." This time, he didn't. He simply noticed what was happening. "I feel disappointed," not "I am a disappointment." That small change in language transformed the entire experience. Emotions are signals, not identities. Fear tells you something feels uncertain. Sadness tells you something mattered. Anxiety tells you your mind is searching for certainty. But none of them are permanent definitions of who you are. Like weather, they move through you if you stop trying to become them. Daniel discovered that the more he observed his emotions without fighting them, the faster they lost their grip. If this idea resonates with you, comment, "I am not my thoughts." Sometimes the sentence we need to write is the one we've never allowed ourselves to believe. Because once you stop defining yourself by your emotions, another question naturally appears. If you are not your thoughts and you are not your feelings, then what should you build your identity on instead? For most of his life, Daniel measured himself by things that could disappear overnight. A compliment, a promotion, someone's approval. When he received them, he felt confident. When he lost them, he questioned his entire worth. It was an exhausting way to live. Then he realized something simple. Anything that can be given to you can also be taken away. If your identity depends on applause, criticism will destroy it. If it depends on success, failure will erase it. But if it is built on your values, your discipline, and the promises you keep to yourself, it becomes much harder for the outside world to shake. Daniel stopped asking, "Do people believe in me?" Instead, he asked, "Am I becoming the person I said I wanted to be?" That question gave him something the opinions of others never could: stability. And once your identity no longer depends on constant validation, another fear begins to lose its power: the fear of being alone with yourself. For a long time, Daniel believed silence was something to escape. Whenever he was alone, he reached for his phone, turned on a video, or found something to distract himself. Being alone felt uncomfortable. But one quiet Sunday morning, he left his apartment without headphones and walked through the park with nothing except his own thoughts. At first, the silence felt heavy. Then, slowly, it became peaceful. He realized there was a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is the pain of feeling disconnected. Solitude is the freedom of no longer needing constant distraction to feel okay. The stronger Daniel's relationship with himself became, the less control the outside world had over his emotions. Because when you enjoy your own company, rejection becomes less frightening, silence becomes less threatening, and approval becomes less addictive. And that's when Daniel discovered something unexpected. A strong mind isn't built by avoiding difficult moments. It's built by willingly walking into them, one small challenge at a time. Daniel stopped waiting to feel motivated. Instead, he made himself a simple promise. Every day, he would do one thing that his mind wanted to avoid. Some days it was a difficult workout. Some days it was making an uncomfortable phone call. Some days it was sitting with uncertainty instead of trying to escape it. At first, nothing seemed to change. The tasks didn't become easier, but something else did: his relationship with discomfort. Neuroscience suggests that repeated voluntary exposure to manageable challenges teaches the nervous system an important lesson. Discomfort is not the same as danger. The more often your brain experiences this safely, the less intensely it reacts the next time. Daniel wasn't becoming fearless. He was becoming familiar with discomfort, and familiarity slowly replaced fear. That's how resilience is built. Not through one extraordinary act of courage, but through hundreds of ordinary moments when you choose growth instead of avoidance. Eventually, Daniel realized there was only one challenge left. He had to stop waiting for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment had never been coming. Daniel used to believe that one day he would finally feel ready. Ready to apply for the job, ready to speak up, ready to change his life. But that day never arrived. He eventually understood that readiness isn't something you discover. It's something you create through action. Confidence doesn't come before the first step. It grows because of the first step. Every decision Daniel had delayed was quietly teaching his brain that fear was in charge. Every small action he finally took taught it something different. I can do difficult things. That lesson became stronger each time he moved before certainty appeared. Life didn't suddenly become easier. Unexpected problems still came. People still disappointed him. Plans still failed. The difference was that Daniel no longer waited for perfect conditions before moving forward. He trusted himself to adapt along the way. And that may be the greatest difference between a fragile mind and an unbreakable one. Not that one never feels afraid, but that one keeps walking anyway. Daniel didn't become fearless. He didn't eliminate uncertainty. He didn't reach a point where life could no longer hurt him. What changed was something much quieter. He stopped expecting the world to become easier and started becoming steadier within it. That's what an unbreakable mind really is. Not a mind that never struggles, but a mind that keeps returning to its values, its discipline, and its purpose, no matter what happens outside. So don't try to master every lesson you heard today. Choose the one that challenged you the most. Practice it tomorrow, then the day after, and keep building, one small decision at a time, quietly, because the strongest foundations are built long before anyone notices the house standing above them. If this story changed the way you think about mental strength, subscribe for more psychology insights. And remember, when the world shakes, let your mind be the one thing that doesn't.